Hi, this is Elias on the left. The Yeti on the right, that's my dad. He works for the National Park Service. This is the story of our trip to the Rosebud Sioux Reservation in South Dakota for the release of wild bison on the new Wolakota Buffalo Range. Today is Wednesday, October 28th, 2020. We have started our trip to the Rosebud Sioux Reservation to go to a buffalo release that the government is returning a bunch of bison that were killed.
I am super excited for this road trip that we're doing together. Elias has wanted to go to the prairie for a long time, and we are doing it. So we're hauling the camper out, and we'll stay at some campgrounds along the way, but we're going to be doing some boondocking too. And our plan is to drive the next 2 days to get to Valentine, Nebraska, where we're going to stay, and then go north into South Dakota for the buffalo release for the Wolakota project, and then camp on the way back, do some whitetail hunting and plenty of sightseeing, and try to get Elias a really good scare on Halloween night.
Here, they have just been released. Here is drone footage from the release. This is out in their new enclosure.
This side of you guys.
What about Wolakota, the buffalo, to have the buffalo release?
So I think that for us, it's hope. So on August 4th, 1804, about 200 miles from here near Vermilion, South Dakota, Lewis and Clark killed their first buffalo on the Lewis and Clark expedition. And over the course of a century, there were different estimates, but I say about 60 million buffalo in the Great Plains. And by 100 years later, there was less than 1,000 buffalo, free buffalo in Yellowstone. And so we as Lakota were dependent on buffalo, dependent on them for the hides to make our teepees, so it was our housing, for our clothing. The primary source of food was buffalo, and the ceremonial items like you saw over there, the things that we pray with come from buffalo. And
Yeah, it's good to have
so the
a
buffalo
long
were
lease on.
everything to us. And so when the buffalo disappeared, it was a big blow to our people. And so to see more buffalo returning is hope, I think.
What does it mean to you personally since you came up with this vision?
So I didn't come up with the vision, but
And they're all fairly young.
I have helped to work to make this project
We have
happen and
46
be a reality.
bulls
And
54
so
cows.
I was probably around your age when I first got to like see buffaloes. And then when I was a teenager, or I was about an old teenager, I was about 19, 20, I had an auntie
Bulls are
who
mostly yearlings.
asked me to work on buffalo. He said that as a part of your life, you should
Oh, we gotta bring it.
work for the return of buffalo.
2-year-old bulls.
And around that time, I decided that I was
No, we're
going to
gonna
do
try
four
to
things
get
in
to
life.
more.
And one of the four things
cows.
that
We
I
got way
made a
more bulls than
life commitment to was to helping to bring back
cows
buffalo.
we have.
And so this is something that I've
At 100.
kind of been working towards for over 20 years. And there's a lot of people that have done a lot of work. And so it's my turn to step up to the plate and do my part.
Alright,
A long time.
and the last question, how important was it to have partnerships to make this happen?
So in life, you're never going to be able to do anything by yourself alone. And so this is there's been a lot of partners. And the first partner, with our group has been Tribal Land Enterprise. This is actually their land that we lease from them. So they've been a great partner. The World Wildlife has been a really great partner because they help us kind of from a science perspective and from a visibility perspective and also from a fundraising perspective. They help us raise money and they help us get the word out and help us with our science. And they've been a huge partner. The other big partner has been the National Park Service, and their work to basically provide us with buffalo is huge, and we wouldn't have this without the National Park Service. And there's been a lot of other groups and individuals and foundations that have helped us along the way, and so when you get the business side of things, working with the nonprofit world, organizations that do nonprofit work to help people in communities, and you get the government all working together, then you can do really amazing things.
Alright.
Is that it? Right? Oh, good question.
What does the release mean to you personally?
So for me personally, it represents a lot of hard work from a lot of different people that have been kind of dreaming about this day for a really long time. And so I've only been part of the work for about a year, but it's been a lot of hard work. And so everything's really been building up to this one day. And now, we've been talking about having buffalo come back, and now today it actually happened. So I think that that's really important for us to do what we say we're going to do, and today was an example of that. So just a really kind of special day to know that the work that we've been doing is paying off, and it's happening right in front of us. Now we can see it and see our work.
Alright, how important are partnerships to you?
Partnerships are hugely important because everyone has different skills and everyone has different knowledge that when that comes together, it amplifies and becomes even greater. And so, we have the plan, and TLE brought the land. World Wildlife has the expertise and the knowledge. The Department of the Interior and National Park Service had the buffalo and knowledge as well. And so bring it all together, and that's Wolakota. And so no one group could have done it alone, and so partnerships make the whole thing possible.
Alright,
general, we have a lot of different ideas for them. One thing is, so traditionally, buffalo was a main source of food for Lakota people, and so for our communities, we can have people come out and be able to do a traditional harvest and be able to provide food for their family and friends, and so that's one way. And then we also are working with a school, and so the school will be able to come out here and be able to learn about the buffalo and be able to kind of experience that relationship. And so we're excited about that, and also the buffalo meat is going to be served in the school. And so we also have, hopefully eventually we'll be able to kind of have tours out here so that people can come out and see it and experience kind of being around buffalo, because they're really, as you probably saw today, they're really cool animals.
Yeah.
It's crazy how they can just be so chill and just hanging out, and then the next thing you know, they can run 40 miles an hour. So I think they're just amazing animals that would be cool to showcase.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome. What grade are you in?
5th.
5th grade. Cool. And what's the project?
I have to research a Native American tribe, and I chose the Lakota.
Cool. Very cool.
So can you say your name and how you're related to this project?
I'm Wendy Ross. I'm the Theodore Roosevelt National Park Superintendent, and we gave 50 bison to the Wolakota Project for their 100 bison herd release.
And I'm Mike Flom, Park Superintendent at Badlands National Park, and likewise we provided 50 bison from Badlands for this release.
All right. Why do you guys think it's important to do work outside of national parks?
Do you want to go first?
Well, all right, I will. Well, national parks don't exist in a vacuum, and in fact the only way national parks are successful, I think, is with partnerships and support of communities and support of all the people of the United States. And so when we work outside of the park, we have that opportunity to talk about the value and importance of parks, the good work that we do in parks, and in this case, share the wealth of the resources of parks. And so I think it's just all about maintaining good support for national parks for decades to come, because we're going to need people like you to take over and continue to support our parks.
All right. Yeah.
The mission of the National Park Service is to preserve and protect the natural and cultural resources for this and future generations. So if we're only looking at very small islands of conservation, you're probably not going to be able to think about things on a landscape level for ecosystem restoration. When we look at partners like tribes and conservation groups along with national parks and other agencies, we're able to maximize our conservation efforts. And I would really like to see bison across the mid-section of the country in a whole landscape scale use of the land.
All right. Does it affect your herd to send buffalo here?
It makes our herd 50 animals smaller, and it does affect the way that we look at genetics in our herd. We do cull, or we take out of the herds several different age classes so that we can maintain that genetic diversity. Our park is fully fenced, so that means that our animals need to rely on genetic diversity to keep health in the herd.
All right.
And I would say very similarly, Elias, Badlands National Park, where I work, is fenced, and so as much as we want bison to be as wild as they can be on the landscape, the fact is they're confined unnaturally to a smaller landscape. And so yes, it does affect the herd when we ship 50 here to Rosebud, but I don't think it hurts the herd. We think we have enough bison to maintain genetic diversity and good health of the bison herd. So, the effect is not overwhelming, not huge.
Alright. And last question, how important are partnerships to your work?
Partnerships are everything to us. It's a way to build community, it's a way to build relationships, it's a way to work with tribal partners in a way that the federal government has not worked with tribal partners in the past. And if we can get beyond those defined boundaries that are around federal agencies and different landowners, and if we can think about things holistically and in partnership, then we can maximize all of our conservation efforts on the landscape.
Partnerships are extremely important in today's world for the National Park Service. In fact, if you look back in history, ever since the Park Service was established, there was at least some effort at partnerships, even from 1960 on. It may have been more tourism partnerships than conservation partnerships, but in today's world, once again, I think the only way in the near term that national parks are able to survive and thrive is because of the support of partnerships. Today we had the World Wildlife Fund here. They're a private nonprofit group that have supported bison management at Badlands National Park for years. And I'll go back and say, similarly to what I said a few minutes ago, the greater partnerships with our communities and the general public is key to the future success and having stewards of these great places in the next generation. People like you to step up and that's why we take every opportunity to build relationships, and the tribes are a great example of that.
Can you say your name and how you're related to this project?
Sure. My name is Dennis Jorgensen, and I'm World Wildlife Fund's Bison Program Manager.
Alright, and how important are partnerships to you?
Partnerships are everything to what we do because in this project we have the National Park Service that's helping to provide bison and the Department of Interior, and we have the Rosebud Economic Development Corporation that has leased the land, and they're going to be managing the bison on the ground, and World Wildlife Fund is able to help bring resources. And so we talk to the people that we know, and we figure out how we can all work together to make something big like this possible.
So how does this particular event, how does it make you feel?
It makes me feel great. I've been working from home since February because of COVID, and so I don't get out to see people and get out on the land as much as I used to, and that's one of my favorite parts of my work. And seeing the bison run out onto that landscape and knowing that they've been in this 6.5 acre corral for the past month or so, and that now they're going to be on 8,500 acres this year, and next year they'll be on 28,000 acres, is pretty exciting. And it also creates interest from other tribes in whether or not this might be possible for them too. And so that's really important, because one of the reasons that buffalo have not come back to the extent that they could is because they have no place to be, and the tribes give them a place to be, just like the parks and the refuges in the country do.
Mm-hmm. How does it affect you to have worked on this project and to have made a big difference?
Well, I think the exciting part of my work and how I feel it makes a difference is that World Wildlife Fund's goal is to have 5 herds of at least 1,000 bison each in the northern Great Plains, and this will be one of those places. And we worked with Badlands National Park to help increase their carrying capacity as well, and we're working with other tribes towards that goal too. So it was just a big deal to see that all start here today. So.
All right. Yeah. Awesome.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Today is the day before Halloween. The Wolakota project is important. It change things for the Lakota people. With this project, many partners, including the World Wildlife Fund, the National Park Service, Tribal Land Enterprises, and others, provided support to the Lakota people by returning bison that the white settlers killed. It is good that the federal government has invested this much money in a project like this. It's repairing the natural world, and it helps a ton for the Lakota people. It gives them food, shelter, and ceremonial items. They also view it as welcoming back a relative rather than a buffalo release. It is clear to me that they are proud to strengthen a connection between buffalo and the people. It is pretty special that they included the Park Service after what the white settlers did to them. Personally, this is a very memorable experience because I heard some ancient prayers and song. This is an experience I'm sure I'll never forget.